go over a little bit of housekeeping. There's coffee in the back of the room if anyone needs coffee before we get started. And I'll have everybody silence your cell phones, please. If you need to take a call, if you've been waiting on doctor's office calls, I get that. You have to take them when they come in. You can just step outside and take those calls and come back in whenever you're finished. My name is Carla Stevens. I'm the moderator and founder of Ageless Insights Truth Series. Most of you know me, but I know we have some new people. So if you're new, a fan club that she invited. So welcome. If you registered ahead of time, you should have received a binder. And if you are locked in, we'll get you a binder the next time you come. So just remind us. So those binders are for you to keep all of your information in from month to month. Our panelists, we cover different subjects every month. So our panelists often will have information for you, as well as our education partners in the back of the room will have articles. So you're welcome to keep everything in that binder to have it in one place. A little bit about Ageless Insights. I started this in July, and my day job is a senior downsizing coach and a real estate agent that specializes in downsizing and right-sizing moves. And I realized that a lot of my clients needed information a lot sooner than when they were ready to make their move. So we started this education series to be here as a strict no sales, education only, to give you the information you need years in advance. So I hope that it's helpful to you, and I want to take a minute and thank our education partners, because without them, we couldn't have this. And so they bring an article every month, and they're here to be a resource to you. So if you need anything for resources or information for connections, please reach out to any of us. Restrooms are right to the sides over here if you need to stop out to the restroom. And I think that's everything. I want to thank everybody that went on the discovery tours last month. We had about 5 discovery tours, so some of you I've seen a lot in the last month. I hope you enjoyed those. I hope they were helpful to you. I would encourage everyone who went on those to choose 1 or 2 communities that one fit your needs now and in the future, and really felt comfortable, and maybe continuing speaking to them, go to their events, because as you all know, what I say to you every month, we have to have our plan A and our plan B, and being on those wait lists is so important as they get longer and longer every day. So today we're going to talk about downsizing, right? So by a show of hands, oh yes, is there anybody that did not get a packet of paperwork that needs one? We have one over here. So we did things a little different this month. Instead of putting them on the tables, I had everybody bring them in. That way you knew what seats were taken and what ones were not. So a little bit about that information. Anything that is hole punched can go in your binder and stays with you. There is a yellow feedback form, and I would love to have those at the end. I'll kind of remind you at the end. Those just help me to ensure that I'm giving you what you need each month, and to help us improve on this each month. So if you could fill those out at the end. Also, there's a place for questions on the white sheets. During the first part here, we don't take questions. I moderate the panel, and then I'll open it up to questions. So if you're like me and you can't remember your question at the end, just write it down, and then we'll take questions at the end. So before we get started, by a show of hands here, who has learned something new? I hope everybody's hands, right? Everybody's learned something new. And I have found that when I want to learn something new, I seek out people who've done it before me, because they've gone through it before. They can tell me what went right, what went wrong, what they wish they would have done differently, right? And so I can stand up here and talk you guys through all day long the steps to downsizing. But to hear it from people who have actually gone through the process, your peers, I think means a lot. So that's what we're going to cover today. So we have a panel of people who have right-sized and downsized, and each person's move, each client's move, I find, is as unique as you are, right? There's not just one process that fits everyone. So that's what we're going to talk about today. If I can get on my stool nicely here. So we're going to take a minute, and the first thing I'm going to do is let each of you introduce yourself and kind of tell me a little bit about where your story, like where you lived before, where you moved to, and kind of what motivated you to make that final move. So, Dan, you want to start with us since you have the mic?
My name is Dan Carter. My wife is Judy Babcock, right next to me. We started about 5 years ago looking for a place to go when we were no longer able to take care of our house. We lived in Marion in a ranch-style house, and we just got to the point where we were not physically able to take care of it anymore. So we decided to just downsize and move on.
Perfect. Do you want to add anything
Yes.
to that?
Dan was in it, I am Dan's wife. Dan lived in his house in Marion for 21 years. Am I okay? Thank you. I came to live in that house more than 10 years ago when he and I got married. And then we ultimately made the decision when we were getting too broken down to keep up with 8/10 of an acre and a 2,100 square foot house on the top addition, that we needed to change. So one day he got serious about it, and he was talking to a place for Mom, and it happened, and we moved in very short order. We had good incentives to where we moved, so we moved to a new senior community. It has worked out well for us. We're happy to be there.
One thing I'll say about all of our panelists, they were all proactive, right? They all made the choice for themselves. I work with a lot of clients every year who can't be on this panel because we have made reactive moves. And so I did want to say that before I had them introduce themselves, because I move a lot of people every year that are doing crisis moves and they don't have the choices that these folks had.
Yeah, my name is Dale Huddleston. I live on the northeast side of Cedar Rapids, and we moved to the northeast side of Cedar Rapids. Not that far, we have a family over there. So we didn't want to go very far at all, but my wife has physical problems for walking, so we live on a split level, too many steps. So now we have just one little step getting into the garage. The yard was about 12-foot drop in elevation, so it's getting harder for me to mow anymore because I have other conditions. So we decided to move a 3 years ago, and I said, as soon as we get rid of half of what we got, we'll start looking. It never happened. We, just because of the situation, we had to look. And I knew that once we started looking, it wouldn't be long at all before we decided on something. And what did it take? 2 days? Something like that?
I think we looked
Or-
at 3
or 1
places.
day?
I think we looked
Three
at
places,
3 places and you were ready.
It was the walk-in tub that made it for us. So nice for my wife. She couldn't handle the other situations. So that was the key there. We did not downsize. It's just larger. But the basement is something that my wife can't go into. And it was unfinished, so that wasn't a problem. So we have a smaller living area than we had. A little tighter, harder for the grandkids when they come over. And the downstairs has got all the extra stuff that we weren't able to get rid of yet.
Dale's our right sizer, so he moved, his square footage is almost the same, the finished square footage is almost the same, but the home fits their needs.
And my story's different than the other panelists in that, well, a couple ways. One is that I moved from a distance when I came to Cedar Rapids. I had been living in Denver, Colorado. So I had a few more challenges with that type of a move. So I could maybe answer some questions on that as we go along. But the other thing is that I've downsized, I hate to say it, twice. We moved from a big old house, if any of you remember the old movie, The Money Pit. my husband and I bought a money pit that was over 100 years old, and we raised our kids there. We had a couple foster kids there. We had exchange students there. It had our life in it. And then we downsized to, and it was a huge house. We were the ones who fixed it up. So we didn't hire anybody. We did that ourselves. And so it was hard to leave it, but we were going somewhere we wanted to go, and we left the house with people we loved, they bought the house, but we knew them, we loved them, and so leaving that house was bittersweet. And then we moved into a 2-bedroom, 2-bath from a 5-bedroom plus house, and so downsized that time. And then after we left the house that we downsized to, we moved to Denver, Colorado because of my husband's job, and we bought a bigger house again. And so you buy things to do the house, and part of that was we knew we would get more company in Denver, people going through, family coming to visit, than we were going to in Tahlequah, Oklahoma. And so then when my husband unfortunately got cancer and passed away, then I needed to be somewhere where I was closer to one of my children, and my younger daughter lives here in Cedar Rapids. So I downsized from a 3-bedroom, 3 full bath house with a good sized finished basement in Denver to a condominium here that's a 2-bedroom, 2-bath, pretty small comparatively house or condo here. So my story is a little bit different. I've done the 2 downsizing, and my sister and I are currently in the process of moving my dad, who is a hoarder, and I mean that seriously. He's a hoarder. And we are in the process of moving him from his home in Arizona we are members of the Iowa tribe of Kansas and Nebraska. We just this past weekend moved him back up onto our reservation where he was born and spent his childhood. So I've got 3 different downsizing experiences, 2 of my own, and then 2 where my sister and I are helping my dad. So
as you can see, everyone has a different experience, and my objective in that is to see yourself in one of these moves, because we all have our own story and our own moves. Dale, let me ask you, what were your biggest fears for you and Kathy when you talked about downsizing? Did you guys talk about some fears, something that made you hesitate at all, or did you just push forward?
Yeah, we just kind of had to go forward. It wasn't a terrible decision or anything like that. It's just the idea that we had to go from the position we were at, that we knew that in the future we'd have a lot of problems. So we got moved relatively quickly. Decision was fast. Moving process was slow enough that we got rid of some things, but we still have a lot of stuff to get rid of yet.
How about you guys? Did you have any fears that, along the way, things that were hard to let go of, just through that thought process?
Not really. Once Dan made the decision and started talking to a place for Mom, and I thought, oh my goodness, we're gonna move all this stuff? How are we gonna get this done? Because we were aiming at the end of October, and we were kind of at the end of June already. 2,100 square foot house on the main floor, and then the basement likewise. We're moving to 1,000 square foot apartment. How are we gonna manage this? Started moving pretty fast. Facebook Marketplace, because I'm kind of a control person, need to sell my own stuff. Chose what went to Goodwill, just move forward to what would fit in the apartment.
That's when you know you're ready, is when you make those calls. And one thing I will suggest is that nobody calls that place.
Yes.
So I will say that. There's lots of options out there that people who live here that can help you find the right place. But what were the biggest challenges you faced as far as emotional logistics? Was it physical, the logistics of getting the move done? It sounds like emotional process was pretty easy. Everybody, being able to make that emotional move. But what about logistics and the physical part? And how did you handle those?
you wanna answer that or should I? We had the advantage that we were in Dan's house, so I would look at him and say, do you care if we sell this, or do you really feel attached to it? So a lot of things he was non-committal on, and we could sell it, and so I moved forward and sold it, because I knew it was gonna fit in the new space. So we weren't really emotionally attached to anything, it was just logistics, it needed to happen, and we did it.
I've gotta say, not everyone has a great experience on selling things online, but Judy is a professional. So if you need any advice, I was really impressed by what she did. You could tell that she was a businesswoman, because she had it done. How about you, Dell? Anything you want to share as far as, what was the most challenging? Was the logistics, because you had a little time in between your moves?
Well, I got to thinking just right now is that when we made the decision, we had looked at then a number of places in town, independent living, and then how would it be down the road if something happened? Where would we go next? Was it already laid in place? What were the costs and everything? And we decided that at that time not to go down to independent living or these others, because it would be smaller for us. We would have a hard time moving hobby and other things. So having the condo we moved into, the first floor was fine, the downstairs, we could do anything we wanted to with it. So I'm still going to try to put up drywall and do this and other things, because some rooms are already partially made, but we're not ready yet to the next downsize, but it'll be coming, of course.
So, how did you, when you were going through your items in your house, and I know you had a garage sale, but before that, you kind of decided what you were going to keep and what would fit your next space, once we knew what that next space was. How did you decide what you were going to take to that next space, what you were going to go ahead and put in your sale, and what you were going to give to your family and friends?
We knew that the table had to go. It was a, not super large, but a large, it was marble, and you cannot change the size. So we had a small table that we could expand out for family. We knew how our Davenport and my chair were shot, so that we replaced. Our bed, we decided it was only 20-some years old, maybe it's time to retire it. So we got adjustable, all that kind of stuff. And so we just fit what we needed, and then we took extra. We had a couple other beds, one went to the extra bedroom, one went downstairs. The cat got that. We did have to get a lot of different things, but we just figured that if we didn't need it, we'd either go to garage sale, Goodwill, go to the church, or downstairs for later. We'll figure it out then, and we're still figuring it out, and it'll be next year before we get anything completely done.
You're still a little bit in your downsizing process.
Oh yeah, I'm not in a big hurry.
Yep.
Too many other things coming up.
Exactly. So, and you used it as an opportunity to get new pieces of furniture. You got a new bed, you got a new living room set, so that was kind of nice to have something new in your new home too.
Yeah, it worked.
So, okay, Patrice, I know that this is unique for you. So, what you did with your items, you had some very unique items, and I would love to share with the audience what you did, your story of how you contacted and what you did with your items, because I think it's a very unique perspective.
Well, one of the first thing that really helped out was in both cases, with both homes, the people who were moving into our homes, who bought the homes, we got a hold of them, the realtor got permission for us to talk to them. The first one, I knew them personally, so it worked out. And I asked them, I told them which things I didn't want to move, and I was gonna figure a place for them, and could they use them. And they were both moving from smaller homes one was moving from a smaller home into a big home, and they were glad to have the things. And the other one was moving internationally. They were coming to the United States from another country, and they were gonna have to get entirely new stuff. So that's an opportunity that might work for you. It certainly worked for us. And we had made the decisions on what we were going to keep. My husband was great. He made these little paper doll house sorts of things where we could figure out what size sofa or whatever would work. So we knew what was gonna work in the new space and what wasn't gonna work. So that was the first thing we did. The other thing, we had tons of books. We were both educators. We had tons of books. So some of the books were rare, and so I looked at the rare books and found out where they were published or who was important. And I got some universities to get some of the books. They wanted them for their special collections because they were rare old books. I did the same thing. We had artwork, and I knew who many of the artists were. I knew them personally, so I contacted either the universities that they had worked at. K-State University has some of our donations. The University of Arkansas at Little Rock has some of our art donations, and Colorado State has some of our art donations. So don't overlook that sort of thing that you may have, and it might be art, might be something else. And the other thing, I was the repository in our family for all the old family letters, journals, all of those sorts of things, and a lot of the, like my great-grandmother had a depression glass collection. So with the letters and journals and that sort of thing, I and my mother had a business that was a rare business, and so I contacted local museums to see if anybody was interested in certain things. I contacted the Kansas State University because that's where my family was from, and they were farmers, and they wanted the farm journals and the farm letters and those sorts of things in their special collections. So now, 2 or 3 generations from now, my great-great-grandkids can look up and research their grandparents and down the line. So I found places, and the same thing, since we are native, and since we're from an Indian tribe, the University of Arkansas has the largest collection of Native American writers' pieces. So they have a lot of letters by Indian military service people that were written home, and then the letters back and that sort of thing. I contacted them, and they have a collection for my son, who was a writer for the Associated Press for 11 years, and they wanted all of his stuff. But they also have a collection for my father, who had a Native American business, and we had all of his stuff from his business. So and then before I got rid of anything that in the way, like, to other places, I did contact my siblings, my nieces and nephews, my cousins, everybody. And I said, I have grandma's bedroom set, great-grandma's bedroom set. Is anybody interested? And a lot of things went that way. And I felt good about that because I couldn't keep them anymore. And I felt good about sending things to universities. They know how to take care of them. I don't. They know how to get them out to the public. I don't. And with things that went to family members, I loved it, especially my nieces. And I had things from my husband's family that nieces on that side took. I love the fact that one more generation is enjoying them, and I'm not dragging them around the country anymore, because I've been dragging them around the country. So a little different story there too.
I think it's important. I know you told me, you mentioned before that you shared the story of those items, and you've talked about that before. When you asked family members if they want an item, to share the story behind it, because that's really what the value is when you're passing those along. And ask them to share the story of anything. Ask them what they would want from you, because you're going to be surprised what they ask for and why they ask for those items and what memories they have.
And that's certainly true, because some of the things that, like, nieces or even my grandchildren said, well, I'd like to have that. I had no idea they had an interest in it, but that's what they remembered from a visit or, that sort of thing. So yes.
Exactly. So, you know, we talk about family, and we're all spread out now. Most of you probably have family members, loved ones that are spread across the country. And so those conversations, when you decide to make these moves, let's talk about how you, Dale, how did you have that conversation with your children and your family?
We have downstairs, two piles. Oh, excuse me, two piles. One for the, son in Denver, and the other is a shared pile for my son in California in Cedar Rapids, that they have to choose someday what they're gonna do with it. Because we don't have any, anything to do with it. That's just where they're stored right now. They really don't want much of what we have. We have talked to a lot of people, I think most of you out there too have kids or grandkids that they don't want it. They don't need it. So I just figure if I don't want it, they don't want it, just not get rid of it. Even though you think this is really important to our family. But in 5 years, nobody's gonna look at it. So you really do have to say, okay, it's gonna go there. If it's got value, it goes there. Everything I have has value. It's gonna go someplace. Very little to the trash. I'll give it away, wherever it's gonna go. But there's so much I look at is just, pictures and pictures. Of course, nowadays we don't have pictures, but there's all that stuff we have to get rid of.
Right, and you'll find that if you wait, I saw this in my neighborhood just recently, a dumpster in front of a home that was full in a day of someone's lifetime, because the family was out of state and overwhelmed. And so, like Dale said, everything they have found, because there's places for everything, right? Very little has to go in the landfill. How did you handle the conversation about that you and Kathy had decided to make this move when you told your children, when you told them that you decided to make this right sizing move? How did you handle that conversation with them?
That wasn't an issue. They knew that we had to do different things. In fact, in their own ways, they keep pushing us to do certain things.
You guys never do that, right?
And my son is coming, he's supposed to be in December, but they got sick, so they're coming here in June, and there'll be more pushing. So we're getting prepared, because we haven't done stuff that everybody's supposed to do at this time in their life. It's still being done, so.
Was there anything about their reaction or anything that surprised you at all in their reaction when you told them that you were, I know they've been pushing you, but
No.
when you said, hey, we decided to do this, is there anything that surprised you at all? No?
No.
And I'll let Judy, Judy, what did you do when you told your children?
We didn't tell my children. Okay. My kids were kind of disinterested in it, and Dan doesn't have any, only but siblings, and they really didn't care, so we just moved forward with our decision. We did have a unique situation in that Dan had a sister-in-law that had passed away a good 20 years ago, and those items had remained and moved with him and his first wife, stored in the basement. So we had a lot of really old stuff, but I put it on Facebook Marketplace, and it was so nice to hear the stories of people that came to our doors to buy things, and they told us why they wanted it, and I met so many good people, and so did Dan. We shared our stories with them, and they were glad to hear the provenance of it. We actually had new items in the basement that we sold for very cheap prices, but we couldn't take it with us. The items were no good to us, and so they were happy to get it. We were happy to put it underneath their roof. It was no longer underneath our roof. It was wonderful.
Worked out for everyone.
Yes.
So looking back, what do you think went especially well for the two of you, and what would you, if anything, would you do differently in your move process, in your decision, in your move process?
I don't think we'd have done anything differently. We probably would have moved forward faster because we started in June and we ended up moving the last week of October. And to downsize, a lot of that had to go pretty quickly. So I would look at what I thought something would bring, and if somebody offered me different money on Facebook and we couldn't use it, I lowered the price to where they wanted it, because there again, they were carrying it away. I didn't have to put it underneath our roof. They were carrying it away and giving me money for it. How does it get better?
As Judy said, my sister-in-law passed away in 2001. And we got about 16 boxes of, items from there. My wife could not bear to, look at any of it, get rid of any of it. When she passed away, I had other important things to do, and I had plenty of room in the basement, so I just left it. But I think if I was gonna do something different, I'd get rid of all of that as soon as possible, because it wasn't really doing anybody any good, and as Judy said, she sold one. People were happy to get it, and it's being used now, where it wasn't sitting in a box in the basement.
Starting earlier, is what I hear.
Yes.
How about you, Del? Is there anything looking back that you would do differently, that you wish you would have done differently, or that you really think you did right?
No, it's just got thinking too, is that we've all lost people in our lives, and you hold on to something, but in waves, you relinquish it. In waves, you get rid of it. In waves, you can't do it all at once when it comes from a loved one. So even other items, it's just waves. And so every time we go through, we get rid of certain things, the next time, some more things. And you can just peacefully get rid of things. So, it doesn't take long, just another few years.
I'm gonna ask Patrice a quick question here. Now that you're on the other side of things, you know that you've downsized twice, how has that affected your day-to-day life as far as not living in your large home and now being in a condo?
Well, I have a lot less to dust. And that's a good thing. I took a year after my husband died, because I took that advice that they always say, don't make decisions rashly. And my children were so accommodating about that, allowing me that space, and I needed that space because I wouldn't have made a good decision. And so it worked really well to have that year to think about what is going to work, not only for me, but for my children, because I'm at the age where I need more and more help, even just with technology and stuff. And so to move to one of the communities that one of my children was in became important. And I knew Cedar Rapids well because my daughter and her family have been here for 25 years since she graduated from college. And so for me, there were so many good things about the downsize. I feel physically lighter, which I know that's crazy, but there was this heaviness of having the responsibility of all of those other things. The one thing I do really miss, I moved into a condo that doesn't have a garden, and I mean they have yard stuff, but they don't have a garden, and they have people who care for the yard stuff, and I was a gardener, and so I do miss that. For quite a while, before I had some back trouble, I lived right next door to Brucemore, and so I found the perfect opportunity to garden at Brucemore, and they were glad to have it. So that's another thing, is when you see that you're missing something because of the move. I left family, I left friends, I left, a lot of things in these moves, but I am trying to find those things that will help me be comfortable, be happy with this move, that aren't necessarily my own things to take care of. So I hope that answers.
That does, and I like that you filled your needs in ways that you gave back to your community. Because I think that there's so many places you can give back to your community.
Yes.
And fill those needs. And then you leave at the end of the day and you go back to your home and you don't have to take care of it if you don't want to, as far as the garden, when the weather's not the way you want it to be, when the weather's not, it's too hot. So, is there anybody else wants to add about how your day-to-day lives have changed? Or you guys have had some change in your day-to-day lives.
Our day-to-day lives have changed dramatically. We went from taking care of 8/10 of an acre, 2,100 square foot house, top and basement, and we went to a place where they take care of us. We have meals provided off a menu, it's wonderful, we don't do dishes, we have housekeeping, so our lives have changed dramatically, and we have lots of options that we can choose to do, participate or non-participate, it's our choice. There's plenty of time for doctor appointments, which is what we mostly do now. Thoughts on that?
Well, I thought we were gonna have a lot more time when we moved from the house to do things. But it seems like we're constantly busy, participating in the events at the senior living home, and also the doctors keep us running. I guess I don't have anything else to add to that.
Well, and it allows more time for what you want to do. You can choose to do those events, or, you don't have to.
Yes.
So, one final question. I just prepared a few questions because I know that you guys are going to have a lot of questions for our panelists, so I kept my questions a little shorter this month. But one final question, for people in our audience that haven't taken the first steps, everybody's considering what to do with the first step. Any final thoughts? I'd like to just go down and ask everybody, final thoughts, advice you would give them, anything that you wanted, final last words for that?
Start visiting communities. Dan and I had been visiting communities for 5 years before we even considered that someday, and that was the way we worded it, someday we're gonna have to do this. And we didn't want to have our next plan ready. Where do we wanna go to? So we kept looking and looking and looking, and when we decided we needed to do it for health reasons, it was easier. So that's important.
Did you find that someday became today faster than you thought?
It
And you
did.
were prepared?
It did, because I have arthritis, Dan has low vision, and it will get lower. And so we just needed to take our next step and have it in mind what we were going to do.
Any regrets over that decision?
No regrets. Dan?
Yeah, what would you like to add? Any piece of advice for somebody, for our audience who are considering a right sizing, downsizing, a change, a move? Any advice to?
Well, I go back to what I said earlier. I think I would start earlier getting rid of things. Look, as we did for 5 years, just to see what's available. And, I don't know, when the time came where Judy couldn't pull the weeds out in the dozens of gardens we have in the yard, and I couldn't see where I'd mowed. I didn't mow the gardens. I knew better. Anyway, when it got to the point where we couldn't do what we enjoyed doing, we just figured it was time.
All right, Dale, any final words you would give our audience who are considering? Any advice?
Just let go. You've heard the saying, let go and let God. That's basically it. Just surrender to, it's gonna happen. Nothing I can do about a lot of it, so. That's all we did, is we just took one thing at a time. Yeah, there's always pressures, but, nothing that bad.
First thing, and we all know this, we are not getting any younger. So we're not gonna be 50 anymore and looking at this. We're not gonna be 40 or 30. We are not getting younger. My advice is make the first step. If that's looking at communities, do that. If that's deciding which things are most important and making a list of those and what's not, do that. If it's calling a moving company to find out what their charges are or how they handle it, do that. That make the first step, because we're not getting any younger.
We all want to have control for ourselves,
Oh,
right?
I
We
love
all
control.
want- I do this because I like control too. So we all want to make our own decisions. I forgot to ask for a volunteer for our mic runner. So who in the back of the, oh, Craig's standing up. So I'll take that one, we'll give that one to Craig. I'd stand up, but I'm really high up here. And I have a dress on. I didn't realize I was gonna be in a high seat. So who has questions for our
Is this like a
panelists?
Phil Donahue thing, right?
Yes.
Now what do I say? I have a question. Can you hear me?
You wanna hold your mic really close.
Really close.
Okay, perfect.
So, I have a classic car that I wanna sell, and I'm wondering I know you did, or you donated things, but in selling things, I'm really scared about how do I get paid, cause there's counterfeit $100 bills and, what kind of, it's just really scary for me. How do you ensure that you're getting paid correctly?
I think that's a perfect question for our mic runner. Sorry,
I don't know
Craig.
if that's a perfect question or not.
That's just
It's a great question though. I just looking around and seeing people nodding their heads. I would think about this. Are you married? Do you have a spouse? Okay. Do you have a son or a trusted neighbor? Just thinking about reality, you're a single woman. So having some man with you is just part of protecting yourself. I know it is, but I'm just trying to think of just reality-wise, not even just for the sales process, but if somebody's going to be coming and looking at it and being at your house, you know, I would be thinking about who would I want to invite to my own home to look at this vehicle, and making sure you're doing it during the daylight hours and when there's other people around or some other person that can be there with you, and maybe even making the statement that, oh, well, yeah, my son is here almost every day or whatever. Just kind of lay the groundwork of keeping the bad guys away, so to speak. But what you probably do want to think about is that person, if they're going to pay by check, it needs to be a cashier's check. You're not accepting a personal check from me or my good friend who's along for the ride or something like that, because you have no idea who we are and whether or not how high that check is going to bounce and stuff like that. But then on the cash side, well, the cash side would be great. There isn't any reason that you couldn't talk to your bank or your credit union ahead of time and say, if I sell this, could I come to the bank and take care of this transaction with you? They might not even charge you anything for it. In fact, your bank or credit union might be happy that you did it, because now they're not having to deal with a fraud situation that they could have helped you avoid. So I would maybe reach out to your personal banker or somebody at your bank or credit union, wherever you would work with, and just explain the situation and see how could if Craig is going to come and buy this car from me, can I make a time for the two of us to come into the bank and make that financial exchange? And then that maybe takes some of the pressure off of you and some of the pressure off of maybe this being a fraudulent transaction.
I also
This would be in the back.
the police stations often will have a designated zone where they have for online sales that is videoed, and they'll say, hey, here's a zone where you can meet people for exchanging items. And then I love the bank. I love the idea of the bank, because you need to do a bill of sale anyway, so just use that as a reason.
Could I add one more thing?
Of course.
I would also be very careful about if you're exchanging emails with me, and we don't know one another, but I'm interested in buying. Oh, well, click on this link in my email to see my car collection or whatever. Just
No links.
don't be just be careful doing things online and clicking any links or anything like that that could.
What other questions do we have? We're gonna get your steps in.
Got one right back here first.
I have a comment and a question. I'm in the middle of downsizing about 6 months, and so what I've done, I'm on a waiting list, and I've contacted a realtor. The realtor is helping me know what home improvements I need to do to get ready to sell the house. So I have that on my list of things to do besides cleaning up cabinets and shelves. And the other thing is I've contacted a moving company, and they are one, maybe there's several that do this, that they will pack, they will move, and they will unpack, and they will sell what you don't want. And so if the buyer doesn't want certain things, then I have that option to, have them. And then my question is, I have some old books. I don't know what to do with some of the old books. And Dale, you made a comment about getting rid of stuff. I've held on to stuff so long that they've lost their value, and now they're garbage. And that would be something I would do different. So now I've got these old books. I don't have a lot, but I don't know what to do with them.
So I want to make it clear, the person that's doing the moving for you, packing and unpacking, it sounds like a move manager. We partner with them a lot in our moves. And they actually will take care of donations typically as well. If they're a senior move manager, they should know where all the local donation sites are. They take care of books. So if you're already working with someone, I would start there, ask them where it goes, but also you'd have to know the origination of the books. Think to yourself, who are these valuable to, right? And then just like Patrice did, reaching out to those people for those donations, because there are books are a big thing. A lot of people collect the books, and it is hard to find places for them, but there are places out there that will accept books. So.
I probably won't do the whole package because I'm trying to downsize where I have minimal things to move, and there's just going to be some of this stray stuff. But that was something that I learned is that there are places that will do it all for you, at a cost, of course. But it depends on what your physical abilities are and what your resources are. So, downsizing is definitely a process.
There's places that'll come in. You can have everything done all in one place, and it's what I usually have an easy button. So it's like pressing the easy button. It comes at a cost, but oftentimes when you're doing it all yourself, it affects your health, your stress, and sometimes that cost is worth it.
I live in a single family house by myself now, and I really love living in a single family house. But everyone I was close to in Cedar Rapids has now died, including whatever relatives I had here. And so I'm thinking maybe I would move to Michigan to be near my nephew, who's my remaining closest relative. Now, I do a lot of gardening, a lot of crafts, a lot of cooking, canning, I love all that stuff that I can do in my house, and I have a lot of equipment for that. And also a lot of books. I love books, and I don't want to get rid of my books. But if I move to Michigan, I will know nobody except my nephew, who I will not be living right next to because he lives in this teeny little town. So I would move to Ann Arbor or something like that. So what I thought I might do is put, replacing all this equipment would be so much time and money, and I love my stuff, is putting them in like those pods that they have now, those storage things, and spending my first year in a senior community where I would have a chance to socialize with people as I got to know the community. I could join clubs and things, so it wouldn't be that for the only people I knew, but I wouldn't be stranded there knowing nobody. Have you heard of anybody doing this, spending a year like that and then buying a home and resetting their home? the homestead out.
I'll answer the pod question and then I'll let you guys give any advice you have. As far as storage, I very rarely recommend anybody putting anything in storage because it's just gonna end up there for a long time. Now, what you're talking about is kind of unique, maybe putting a time limit on it and saying at the end of
That's right.
that
Just
year,
as soon
if
as
I
I'm
still,
kind of into that community,
Right.
then I want my own house again.
right.
I'm very mobile, I don't have any health problems or anything, so I'm not worried about having to stay there.
Right, but there's also tons of ways to get involved in a community. And
That's right,
organizations.
for that first year, I've moved to many new communities knowing nobody. That first year is tough,
Right, it is,
getting
it
to,
is.
and especially as you get older. A lot of people, I like people my own age, and you know, these young techie people, they're hard to deal with. But so many people my age, they have health problems, they're more interested in their grandchildren than in getting new friends. So it takes a while to get yourself your own community in a place.
Any advice, Craig, from your own experiences? I mean, you've moved to different places, how did you make your friends?
Well, and I took a year for a different reason, because I had just lost my husband. So I took a year. I don't see a problem with taking a year, and I took my year on the other end. I took a year to stay where I was, but again, a year gives you a better sense of, you're not making a commitment right away, and you might decide, you might say, well, I love living in this senior community, and I can bring my stuff out of the pod into the senior community.
I'd have to have a 2-bedroom.
Well, yeah,
A
and
two-bedroom there.
you may find that, you may find that. So I don't see a problem with taking a year. I really don't.
And if I do, really, I've got a lot of equipment that I do not wanna have to start all over and replace. If you don't say, what would be the best place to store things? I could just store them here, you know, they don't have to be moved.
Well, I will tell you that I had a friend who used a pod, and they got rodents in their pod.
Oh.
So now I don't know which company, I don't know if it was Pod or one of the others, because there are other companies. So that may not be, but I also have a son who moved to a community, didn't have his place lined up right away, and he moved stuff into a storage, and the storage is much more secure, it's much less likely to get water damage, rodent damage, that sort of thing. So there might be options for storage that would allow you to do the same thing, but not necessarily in a pod. I don't want to
I'm
discount
not wedded to pods, I'm
Yeah,
really
right,
not.
right. So there are options that might
And
work out.
maybe Carla knows something about the storage facilities in Cedar Rapids.
Oh, I do, I can help you through that process, so we'll get there. Who else has a question for our panelists, or just in general?
Hello, my name is Nancy Abel, and I apologize, I was about a half an hour late because I got off turn around and got lost. But my situation is that, a little over 10 years ago, my husband and I, built our dream home, so to speak, and you know, it had everything he wanted in it, and me, and you know, even a dedicated exercise room. But anyway, then a few years later, he passed away from pancreatic cancer. So, I've been living in about 3,700 square feet and trying to keep it up, and I love the house and Mike loved the house, but I can't do it anymore. I mean, I'm gonna be 78, I don't know, in a month. And I have plans to be out of there in 90 days. I'm going to a, 55 plus community. But I don't even know where to start. I just wanna pull my covers over my head. So, anyway, any help will be appreciated.
Well, there's a guide that I gave to everybody about first steps to start. It's just the very beginning steps, but it's attached. Those are great first steps. Also, there is a whole community of people out there that can help you through every step, Nancy. And whether you decide you want to do some of it yourself or you want to have it all done for you, and that's something we do is walk you through that process. And anybody in community that you're moving to, you'll know people that can help, and I know people who can help if you need that information. But just starting 90 days makes it a little bit tight. So if you were saying 6 months, I'd say start small. But at 90 days, I don't know that I'd say to start small. But I think it's surrounding yourself. We were just talking about this at Downsizers Club last month. It's surrounding yourself with a team, because you can't do it alone. And it's too much alone. Whether that team is professionals, friends, family, everybody's team looks different, right? You need a team. And was that true of you guys? Did you all use team? I know you guys were a team.
We are the team, yes, yes. We did it well together.
But did you guys use teams at all? Professional friends? I know Dale had a team.
Family.
You had family. A lot of family, church,
Yeah.
professionals.
Church, neighbors.
So it's taking that first step, which you've done, in finding where you're going to go. I always say the first step is finding where you're going to go. And then the rest of the steps will all fall in place. You just need to get that team, and then it'll all come through.
Well, I have two delightful sons, obviously they're old. Anyway, they're in their 50s, and they have marched in and said, Mom, we're both gonna take a week off of vacation, and we'll take care of everything. And, oh dear, I just pulled my head.
Their idea of taking care of everything is maybe not the same as yours, but, so you just gotta, I will give you a piece of advice here. You're in charge.
Yes.
This is your home, this is your stuff. You're in charge. It's great that they want to help. Make sure they know that you're in charge.
Well, and I have their baseball cards in my storage area, and, everything.
Everything. I think there's a question on the
Don't
other
throw
side.
those baseball cards out.
Suggestions as to what to do with encyclopedias and bowling trophies.
Whose bowling trophies are they?
The husband's, and he wants to hang on to them forever.
That would be a marriage counseling.
I missed what you said.
I said that would be a marriage counselor.
Oh, yeah. I'm gonna tell him that. No, if I could find a purpose,
Right.
to repurpose them, then maybe he would suggest, or be open.
Judy, yes.
I have a suggestion as to your encyclopedias. Dan had a couple sets, I had a couple sets, and I made contact with an Amish community because they don't use technology. Gave them, donated them for free, and they loved it.
That's awesome.
I have a suggestion for the bowling trophies. I actually know two different artists that use found objects, and that can be an old bowling trophy, and they create new stuff with it. So if you can, and one lives in Oklahoma and the other one lives in Kansas City, and so they're not gonna be available to you, but if you find artists around here that make unusual things, they may love having bowling trophies. And one of the ones, I had a piece from one of the artists that he had used an old trophy and made a new piece, and that's one of the ones that's in the collection at Kansas State University. They wanted that piece that was created from an old trophy. So it's just using, brainstorming who might use these, so.
And you don't want them to go to the landfill, I just wanna find a purpose.
Right, and then your husband could see that piece of art, and would that bring him joy to be able to see that? No. No. By the way, my mom's here visiting, and she's driving through Kansas City on her way home. She has a truck.
Next time.
I'll take the next question.
I have a question because we really like where we are. Our house is like a walkout range, everything is on the main level. The problem is that both the kids are in Chicago and they would like us to move somewhere there. So we've been looking for the over 55 communities there, but the HOA is horrendous in some of them, and the property taxes are really high, even compared to Cedar Rapids. So what to do? Move or not move, or because we are not ready for that assisted living or anything like that. We are both mobile and do everything ourselves. So a 55 plus community for independent with the clubhouse and the other activities would be really nice. But I'm just concerned about and if you go further away, then we are further away from where the kids live. So to stay here or not move or not to move.
So you're concerned about your cost of living there versus here? As far as being close,
And
like to be
I'm
close to
really
them?
concerned mostly about the horrendous property taxes there.
Right. And so I have specific sheets to compare that, if you need that. Have you written down like what you're currently paying and your maintenance on your home, considering what you may pay to maintain your home, those big repairs that come, because it's important to figure those in too. And then these are assumed are all maintenance free, so, figuring that out and comparing those two costs, and then not forgetting that what price do you put on the convenience of that and being those memories with your family that you're going to have, and then checking with your financial advisor to see if that's prohibited long term. Also, do you have a community here? Do you have friends and a close
Yes,
community here?
we have been here for 27 years in the same house, and we are very, very active in our own Indian community as well as playing a lot of bridge and traveling, and so we do have, that's another thing,
Yeah.
But the only thing is that I know if we go to a 55 plus community, we will find friends because of the activities there. And I don't want to just go buy a smaller home there and have little kids running around and nobody our age to talk with. So, yeah, that's another thing that we've been here too long.
Right, and moving into 55 plus community there, you're right, you have that built-in social that you're going to
Yes.
build much quicker.
Right.
And you'd be close to your family. So it comes down to just some important questions to ask yourself about your family and their time, what they have for time, and what they have for time, if they're gonna have this time to spend with you when you're there, or if your community here. And then I'm gonna let Patrice add.
One thing I'll add is when you're looking at the change in expenses, you don't want to just look at the cost of living of a home here and a home there. And I know this because I moved to Cedar Rapids. I lived in Denver, where I could get on an airplane at a moment's notice, much less cost with an airplane going anywhere out of Denver than it is out of Cedar Rapids. So you're gonna have increased costs for some things, but don't forget to look at the things that your costs will decrease on. Your travel costs will probably go down and the time frame. I have to add an extra couple of hours to any flight that I'm going anywhere because you have to go from Cedar Rapids to a bigger airline or a bigger airport and then go on. Where when I was in Denver, I could go directly anywhere. So that's just one example of things that might end up being more cost effective in your new space. So try to look at both of those things.
Yes, thank you.
I think Judy wants to add something to that.
No, I didn't have anything.
Oh, okay.
No.
You've got one over here, one on the front.
I hear you guys getting rid of everything, but, like, I moved in my house, me and my husband in 22, and then he passed away this month in 24. But, I hear you guys, well, how you get rid of everything. I haven't heard anybody say anything, how you do with your pictures? Cause see, I'm a picture person, and I got nieces, and everybody say, if you want a picture of somebody in your family, go to TT. So, what do you do? And I know my sons will throw everything away.
Did you do anything with your photos, or you guys still have all your photos? I give general advice, but.
I still have a lot of photos, especially ones that were really important to me. But I did go through, back in the days, and this would probably be your experience too, when you had to turn a whole roll of film in and then you got everything back.
Yes.
I actually went through and looked at them and said, now is this a decent photo or not? And pitched those, and that was very helpful. And in fact, I gave I don't throw anything away. But the ones that I didn't want, one of my best friends was in another community I lived in, was an elementary school art teacher. And she took those extra ones, they chopped them into little pieces, and they made those collages that you, because they were sorted into color, so that the kids could make these color pictures of animals and things out of those little chopped up pieces. I didn't have to feel bad about getting rid of blurry images, or ones that you got half of somebody's face, or, so there can be some downsizing even there. But I kept pictures, and I have learned how to scan, and I've scanned pictures so that I can give, if it's not quite as important to me, but it might be more important to, say, my daughter or my granddaughter or my cousin or my sister or somebody, because they're the major person in that picture. I relinquished those to that important person. I still have a scan of it. So those are two suggestions.
Thank you, because when my mom passed away, I took all of her pictures too.
Right, you have a lot of them.
A whole lot of pictures.
Well, one of the things we cover in the Downsizers Club is getting rid of the duplicates and also anything that's a picture of scenery. Oftentimes we won't keep those, so we say scenery, duplicates, everything else. We say, you can take photos on an app of them, or you can go to a family search center and they have a scanner, a book scanner. If you have books, of the old ones, where they had in the books, and just putting them in piles for family, and then going ahead and sharing those with those people, but keeping your original photos.
Of course, if they're not labeled, nobody knows who Uncle John is.
Right, if no one knows them.
There are some national services too that you would contract with them ahead of time, and you would mail those to them, and they would do all the digitization, so if you don't have a scanner, and they can make a book for you, they can do a lot of different things, so might just be another option.
Yeah, there's places like Legacy Box and several other out, I think I have a whole list of them, but there's several companies out there.
I'm sorry, I was thinking there was one back here. Is it you? Before?
When you're thinking about donating crafts, pictures, like Patrice said, don't forget about Eastern Iowa Arts Academy here in Cedar Rapids, because they do amazing things. I mean, and like your bowling trophies, I would contact them, you never know. They're just very creative there, and they could probably use just about anything, and they appreciate donations, so.
We have such a great group of donations, of nonprofits here, that you can find some place to donate almost every
Eastern
day.
Iowa Arts Academy, they moved into the old Arthur Elementary School building. So, and you're welcome to visit too, if you don't know much about it, so.
I
hardest part about downsizing is I'm the last person left here. I'm downsizing my little sister's house, which is huge, and we have all the family heirlooms. And I don't wanna just throw them all away. I've contacted my East Coast relatives and they said, oh, just look through a couple things and send us a couple things. But I've got all the old Bibles, all the old pictures, I have everything.
I always tell people to start at their local historical society, wherever your family is from, right? So or genealogy society, a lot of times they will take those items, and if they can take the bulk of it, a lot of times they'll do that. That's where I tell people to start with those, and to find the local, where your family came from, right? So kind of searching back where your family, because we've all moved a lot. And for me, I mean, I grew up in Kansas, my family was originally there, so I would contact the local ones in those counties. But the smaller towns, they have great societies there that have caregivers. Teresa, do you want to add to that?
Well, just that, I just saw a program with the genealogy, with the local genealogy people here, and I wasn't thinking I would donate anything here, because even I am still finding things that I don't really need anymore. And they said, no, we'll take documents, we'll take old Bibles, those sorts of things from anywhere in the country, and that's the local one here in Cedar Rapids, and we have a shelf that's for Kansas, or that's for Ohio, or wherever. So there are places that really would love to help, so.
My other problem is glassware. I think my relatives saved every piece of depression ware, Fostoria, all that. What do you do with all the glassware?
So glassware, there's still some value in some of it, but a lot of it has devalue. But places like Ware's Auction House, they have a specialized glass sale every few months. And so there's also antique buyers and things like that travel and have booths. So if you're wanting to sell it, I feel personally like you get a lot more for items online or on the coastal regions, because we have so much of the same things in the Midwest, right? We all have antique furniture, we all have glassware. And so with everybody downsizing, it's just been flooded. And so if you can get into those places, sometimes you'll get a little more value for it. I think we had a question up front here.
My mother moved from a condo to, she's in memory care. But when we moved her out of her condo, she was a scrapbooker. And so she has pictures of herself in all these places, and she, it was just, those all went in the dumpster. And because my basement is dry, I got 10 of the Ream paper boxes full of all her photo albums. And we also had slides. So my brother had got all the slides, and I just wanted to say he digitized a lot of those slides and got a different projector. And so now I'm starting to go through all of these photo albums that are also like combined scrapbooks. so it's like, but my sister threw a fit. She wants the scrapbook parts. So now I know where I can take the pictures and give her the scrapbooks.
Right. Now you have a place for that.
Yeah.
But the online digitizing is amazing what they can do. And there's a price to it, but what they can do for convenience, and our Downsizers Club, I reached out to a lot of them last year for a Downsizers Club and asked for a discount, which they gave us, but I have come to find out they have so many sales. Just watch for their sales. Their sales are better than the discount. They have 50% off sales all the time on like Legacy Box and these other online. So just kind of watch for those, and they do a great job.
I wanna know what you're unhappy about that you've done. Sorry.
Great, but no, I like that question. I tried to get that out of them. I don't
don't know that we're unhappy about anything. Just make sure that if you do Facebook Marketplace, you get paid for something. We had somebody that said, I'll come back and pay you tomorrow, you know it never happened. That's the only thing that went wrong for us, but that was our error, we should have not let it go. But just make sure you get paid.
There are things that I do miss having. My husband had a huge, music collection. He had albums and CDs and that sort of thing. A granddaughter wanted the albums, which I thought was great, and so she's got them. The CDs, I donated them. There are times when I wish I might have kept them, but I have access to them if I want to buy them from some online, that sort of thing. So there are times when I miss some of the things that I had. For the most part, not. I think just the fact that I'm not having to deal with so much of that stuff is, when I really think I'm missing something, it's good to remember, oh, well, I also don't have to deal with that. So,
Circling back to photos for a second, I have on my phone an app called PhotoMine, PHOTYMYNE. And you can use your cell phone to scan an entire page in a photo album, and it breaks it down into individual pictures. And then what I do is I load it onto my computer, and then I make thumb drives for all my grandchildren of all their pictures that they would like to have. And they're all thrilled by showing it, because I'm the picture lady.
And then you're the techie grandma, because you gave them thumb drives and digital photos.
Yeah, and I do add comments, so.
Is that a free app?
No, the app itself costs about $35, I think, but it's a one-time fee. So it's more than paid for itself many, many times over.
This is point down
All right, let's sit
Yeah.
and ask her
We can
question.
come back to you right now.
I wonder if you could speak to any experience you've had with, like wares or some of the local, businesses that do everything for you. Have you had any good, bad, or otherwise experiences that you can speak to, and how is there a good way to interview, make a judgment on who to hire?
I don't think anyone up here used move management or estate sales, but I do refer people. I refer my clients, because when I work with a client, I usually act as a hub and kind of refer them to everything. So I work with move management a lot, and I've had some great experiences, and if you want to ask me individually about individual ones, I'd be happy to talk to you about individual ones that you want to talk about. But I'd be happy to conversate with you about
I know
those.
I used one for my father that later people have said, well, don't use them anymore. And, how do you know?
Well, and I think, businesses change, and you wanna make sure it's the same owner. You wanna make sure how long have you been in business, right? Especially if you have a warranty. A warranty doesn't do any good if that company's been around a year and it's not here next year, right? So how long, well, not specifically to that, but warranties in general. Are you bonded? Are you insured? Bonded and insured are so important. And ask for references. Do not be afraid to ask for references. They should be able to give you phone numbers to clients that you can talk to. And if they can't, that might be a red flag.
That was an example of a senior moment. I was just gonna say that whoever has a question on books, when my partner of 28 years passed away, I took his encyclopedias out to half price books, and they use them to stage homes and stuff like that. And you can even do that with old Bibles. I guess you could do that with old Bibles too, so.
I think we have a question in the back, or if you want to add to that,
Yeah,
right?
since I actually happen to sit on your county landfill board, I really love this conversation. And then specifically, if you can't find anybody to take old books because they're kind of falling apart, you can take them out to the site on County Home Road, and they will recycle them for you. I see them on a fairly regular basis when I've made trips out there, so it's just another resource, but it's great to put them in the hands of somebody that's gonna use them, which we got some good referrals on that today, so thank you for those ideas.
This will be our final question, and then the panelists will be at the back of the room for any individual questions. Just for time, I wanna make sure we kind of stay on time here.
I collect a lot of things, and one of them is called uranium glass. And anyone who has a lot of glass would be very well advised to get a black light flashlight. They are $5, $10, $15, $20 online. And if you think you have glass that looks unremarkable, like light green or light yellow or something, when you put that black light on it, it looks like it has a neon light inside of it. And of late, there are a lot of uranium glass collectors, and they go to thrift stores and buy just little pieces that look very, very common, and they take a black light with them and just spray it over the whole shelves and buy 25-cent things and sell them for $10 and $20. So if you have a black light, you can tell if you have uranium glass, and people go on Marketplace and just put in the word uranium and get all kinds of things that they can buy. And if you think you have something that isn't worth very much because it doesn't look very special, put that black light on. If it lights up like a green neon light or a yellow neon light, you've got something that's worth 10, 100 times what you thought it was worth.
So that page I attached to you, to the question sheet, gives you some guidance, some steps to take. And I want to challenge everyone here to at least take one or two of those steps in the following month. And as you know, I call some of you throughout the month, so I might be asking you what steps you took towards whatever your personal goals are, right? So I want to thank our panelists. Weren't they great to share their experiences? Part of them, right? So they're going to be at the back of the room, as well with our education partners. So don't forget to stop back there, grab an article, talk to our education partners, talk to our panelists. A few things I want to cover before we go. So your yellow sheets in front of you, I would love to have those back, along with your name badges. There's a basket out front for those. Also, if you want to register for next month's seminar, you can register on there. Next month, we're going to have the truth about senior living communities. So we're going to have, just like we had downsizers this month, next month we're going to have people who will move to our local communities, and we want to hear their experiences. So I'm going to have the communities talk a little bit about themselves, and then I'm going to kick them out of the room and let the people who live there have an uninterrupted conversation with you about their experiences, the good, the bad, everything, and just like we did today. Also, if you signed up to get emails from us, you might check your spam folder because sometimes they end up in there. So just look for Ageless Insights. Once you open it once, it should be good. It should appear every month. The following month, it's going to be the truth about tech, both for connectivity and for safety, for home safety. So I hope you guys can come. I hope you learned something new today, and thank you for coming out.